Joining us now, Mary Catherine Ham, who is with the Daily Caller and a Fox News contributor, and Ryan Clayton, who is a Democratic campaign consultant and founder of 100proofpolitics.com. Good to see you both. Happy 4th. And Mary Catherine, so we just talked about people with pre-existing conditions who cannot be denied coverage under Obamacare. Now we're talking about poor people who, under the expansion of Medicaid and Obamacare, would be guaranteed coverage. If you take that away, if you repeal Obamacare, what happens to those low-income people?
Well, I think that's the question that we're going to be wrestling with, partly because the court decided, look, you cannot strong-arm the states into doing this by saying we're going to yank away the rest of your Medicaid funding. It's a shared program. The government foots the bill for some, the federal government foots the bill, the state government foots the bill for part of it. And what has happened in the past is the federal government gives you these programs with these strings attached. There's sort of like a drug dealer in a bad 80s anti-drug PSA where they're like, we'll give you the good stuff at first, and then they hook you, and then later on they're not paying for it anymore. And so the states are genuinely concerned. I know many of them have political concerns about Obamacare as well, but they're genuinely concerned. Look, you guys don't have the money to foot the bill for this at 100%, at 90%, at 50%, whatever your promise is. We don't see that happening into the future, you know, in perpetuity. So we have an issue with this.
Ryan, Republican governors say politically we don't want it, but just economically we can't afford it.
Yeah, well, first of all, happy 4th. You know, this is a day to celebrate independence and freedom, and Obamacare is really about freedom. You know, the freedom from fear that the illness will bankrupt your family, freedom from the want of health care for your friends and your family, and the freedom to change your job or freedom to start a new business, and really about the freedom from the oppressive burden of illness, injury, and disease. And if an American's sick, they should be able to see a doctor. It's just that simple. I don't know why these Republicans and these Republican governors are standing against Obamacare, because they're standing on the wrong side of history by standing in the way of guaranteeing millions of Americans access to affordable, high-quality health care.
Mary Catherine, haven't we seen this before with states opting out of Medicaid only then to rejoin the program, or saying, no, we don't want the stimulus money, only to then change their minds and take it? Are these Republican governors, and there are 15 of them so far, are they really going to follow through on this and say no to tens of millions, hundreds of millions, or even more government money?
Well, I think it depends, and I will refrain from speaking in Norman Rockwell posters and deal with the actual facts, which is that when you implement some of these programs, what happens, for instance, coverage under Medicaid is not necessarily actually care, because the government's really bad at doing this, and they end up having to take down the rates that they're repaying doctors, and doctors cannot have a practice where they take Medicaid patients, and they are continuing to drop out of the program. When you expand this to 16 million more people, how do you deal with the actual fact that you have no money to pay for that? And then it ends up that doctors cannot survive in their practices while taking Medicaid patients, and then you have a bunch of people with a little Medicaid card that says the government's taking care of them, but it ain't. Even if you do the Republicans really, maybe you can send them a Norman Rockwell poster, and that would make
Let's stick with Norman Rockwell for a second, because I remember at my doctor's office as a kid the picture of the doctor giving the baby a needle in the tush. So we have all of these young kids, and the state of Florida, Ryan, says that we've got a better, more cost-effective way of treating low-income children in our state. The governor says, give us a chance to put programs like that in stateside that we can run and we can manage ourselves. Isn't this a good idea to let those at the state level decide what programs would best fit for the people in each of those states?
I mean, the governor of Florida is saying that. It's really just a joke. You know, I hear these Republican politicians talking about replacing Obamacare, but then I don't hear one word about what they would replace it with, you know? I mean, look, these governors who are Republicans, you know, I'm sure it's really easy for them because they get health care right now. They have government health care with their government job. I'm sure it's really easy for them to debate politics and to play politics while millions of Americans don't have access to affordable, high-quality care. But Obama stood up and fix this problem. He passed this law, and this is going to be the law.
That's why premiums continue to go up. That's why people are scared of losing their coverage.
That's because insurance companies are ripping off Americans, and that's what this law puts a stop to.
It's not fixed.
Mary Catherine, why don't you take the challenge from Ryan? And, you know, instead of complaining about what you don't like about Obamacare, we've heard a lot about that. The polls show that the majority of people don't like Obamacare. When are Republicans going to start talking specifics about what they would replace it with? How they would insure these 30 or so million people who are now going to be insured under Obamacare? If you repeal it, that insurance goes away.
I mean, I'd be really interested to hear that.
Let's talk about Wait, first of all, I will say that there are several simple ideas that Republicans have talked about during the entire process that people just ignore and go, you have no ideas. One being medical malpractice reform, the other being buying your insurance across states so that you can have some competition between insurance companies.
But that's not going to solve the problem.
Wait,
that's
hold on.
not going to solve the problem.
Not getting... This is not solving the problem. You know what they have right now under Obamacare, which has magically fixed all of our problems? They have high-risk pools. You know what the issue is with those? No one's getting into them, okay?
I'll tell you what it also
people
does
with
is it drives
pre-existing
down
conditions
costs.
are not taking advantage of the things that are in Obamacare. Why? Because it
makes
does
sure
not
that millions of Americans get health care. It puts reason back in the health care system so that insurance companies can't just make millions of dollars ripping off the American population. You know, it puts reason back in the system.
Congratulations. It's been enacted for 2 years. Are your problems fixed?
If an American's sick, they should be able to see a doctor. It's just that simple.
Thank you both for joining us. I hope you enjoy the rest of your holiday. I hope the sort of the level of heat comes down a little bit for you over the next couple of hours as you enjoy the 4th of July. Mary Catherine Ham and Ryan Clayton, thanks so much.
Thank you very much.
Happy 4th.
They'll be fine after they get a little corn on the cob.
Okay,
They'll be fine. All right.